Research that we were doing up here where we had little X's. We had 20 people in that experiment doing it. And we were ready to make a call based on 20 people. So what would generalize, we say, to the population? You don't need 1,000,000 scores in your grade books. The more scores you have, the easier life gets after grading. But there are only so many things you can do. There are only so many things you can do. So how do you keep track of what students are learning? Did you hear that question? How do you keep track of what students are learning? Yes?
To do quartet auditions, random interactive course this semester, where should
They do that in all states? They do stuff? Yeah. Everybody learns their music because the one thing you don't want to do is get pulled, go in, and fail in front of everybody, God, and the entire state of Missouri. That's enough to scare everybody. Those random eventually work out where they're not so random. We only have so many degrees of freedom. The first one is random. The second one is pretty random. By the end, you want those auditions to go to every student. The ones at the end have a built-in advantage of knowing it's today, or it's going to be this week sometime. But at least at the beginning, nobody knows. And that's good. Anybody else?
You could single out a section during band rehearsal and have them pick a problem spot or just an area to make sure that every student just be like, okay, clarinet's playing, yours will be.
There could be flutes one day, percussion one day, clarinets one day. And you split it out over 5 days, you're going to see everybody. Or over 2 weeks, 10 days, you're going to hear everybody, and you're going to make a check mark who knew it, who didn't know it, if it was assigned. It's good. It's important that whatever you do, you keep your sanity and you keep your own life. As a music teacher, you want to be the merciful one. You don't want to be the one that chases after them, looking for something to do wrong so they can lower their grade. You can lower their grade. So, I'm going to say pacing, 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 and some. What do you think I'm going to say in terms of assessment? You've been with me a whole semester. What am I going to say about assessment?
Grade them on what you're talking.
Good.
What?
I had a teacher during my final years of school. I had a teacher during my final years of school that misinterpreted the concept of teaching to the test. He thought that if you tested only on the stuff you taught, then you were teaching to the test. That's not how that works. Okay? In Princeton, New Jersey, they send out the SRA tests or whatever. In certain schools, I'm not naming any, but they will rip open the tests, one of them, each grade, look at everything they haven't taught, and spend the next week grilling them on the specific question. That is teaching to the test. As I've said before, if you are testing on things you haven't taught, that's not good. That's not a good job on your part. You can't expect them to know things you're not teaching. But in terms of the actual tool that you use, how's that for you? What tool you use? I'm assessing using a tool. A rubric, beautiful. All right, Sam. Rubrics, rubrics, rubrics. It's hard to say fast quickly, so I say it slowly. I have a built-in effect that way. Let me point some things out about these wonderful little devices. Number one, the time you spend to create a rubric is paid for the first year you use it. The first time you use it. You save the heartache and the headache of trying to assess on the back end. It makes it so much easier that the hour or two you spend grinding out what you want them to know, do, and be like, and what the levels would be, you make that up. Just in 1 year. It's a 100% payback. And then once you've made the rubric, it's yours. You never have to do that again. You have to tweak it, because you're going to find that they're going to do, students will do things that you never imagined they would do. You do that to me. Imagine what they can do. This is the first year I had people who were doing Who's the Dog, and they wrote out the dog on lined paper. Then they sang the dog to me. Well, that's not the same thing. That's not what I'm looking for here. But you got to give them credit. You know, they've done the score analysis. They sang it well. Okay. So I just smile and I check the highest box. That needs to go in the assignment next year. The other thing about it is this. They save headaches with both the parent and the student. I'll give you a great example of a conducting test that I gave back in western Montana. And I had a student come in, and it was one of the first ones when we were doing the Elizabeth Green, trying to get the hands flat. And you keep them, you know, the same distance from the wall. Can we create our own box? And he was doing this. This kind of thing. And how wonderful it is for the teacher when a student comes in, and he knows he hasn't done it, but I've got it on video. And I've got the box. And everything is checked. So number one, people aren't just going to say you don't like me. That's why you gave me a low grade. They see the boxes, they say, yeah, that's what I did. Number two is, if you have it on video, you start to see this little sway. And I said, you see this arc that I wrote here in the box? Look for the arc. See the arc? Yeah. Okay. Have any more questions? No. No, that's good. But, oh well, thanks. And you know what? The next time he had it, it's amazing how these things work. And a parent, if you give a kid a B in a music course, you got some explaining to do. Think about that. I mean, if the kid gets a B in math, they're happy. If the kid gets a B in choir, they're saying, how can you get a B in choir? And they'll come and they'll look at you and say, isn't there something you can do about this? And they know there is. But the fact of the matter is, if you have something in paper with check marks on the 8s instead of the 10s, you can say, see? And that will usually work when they go, I see what that was. Math teachers have that built-in advantage. You know? There were 100 problems. They got 88 of them right. 88% is a B. Oh, okay. There's never an issue there. There can be an issue of you're not spending enough time teaching my daughter, or your teaching method doesn't. There can be that. But in music, if you just go with a couple of check marks, or they have a bad attitude, that doesn't really hold up. Especially considering this. Your first year, at the end of your first 9 weeks, you're going to grade them. You're going to sit at a table about this size, and one at a time, all the parents will come and see you. And typically, those students that get A's, the parents may or may not come. But if anything else is on the grade report, those parents will come here. And you need to decide how miserable you want your life to be. Keep in mind that those parents are also your boosters. So, one of the things we don't spend enough time when we're doing student teaching now is how do you handle these people? Because your audiences aren't just your students and your administration. Parents are a big issue. Parents are a big issue. This helps you. If you have something with little check marks, that helps. Say, see, this is the score they got and here's why.